The Bashkocha Pratis were here on Siara Bashtamuta, the 15th day of the month of Iyar. So we'll begin with discussing what's important and unique about this day. And every month, the 15th day is the high moon of the month, which is the high revelation of Malchus, that the moon is Malchus. The moon is, when we're Mekadosh L'Levana, we say David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam, because David HaMelech is Malchus, but also as far as a feminine figure, the moon is Rachel. And we have here many Rachel in the room. And whoever it is, and her name is not Rachel, but she's also shaykh to Rachel. Because Rachel is the all-inclusive and mother, Mama Rachel, of the Jewish people. Even though she's just the mother of 2 of the 12 tribes, but she's considered to be the mother figure of all of the Jewish people. Her name Rachel is just like Yareach, like moon. It comes from the same 2-letter root source. So this is the high moon of this month of Iyar. In Iyar also there's a special allusion to Rachel Imenu, because when you write Iyar Malay, full with 2 yuds, so it stands for the 4 legs of the chariot of Hashem, which is the 3 fathers, the 3 patriarchs, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the Reish is Rachel. She's the 4th. She's the Malchut. So the whole month has a special emphasis on Rachel, and especially this day, which is the high moon of the month. So the first question, when you contemplate a day, it's always good to meditate on what's happening right now. Like what happened right now and what's happening is the same thing as whatever happened continues to happen every year on the same date. So the Rashi in the Chumash says that this is the day that the Manna was given to the Jewish people, a month after the Exodus. That's for that whole month they still ate from the matzah of the Exodus, but at the end of the month matzah finished, and then came the miracle, this ongoing, almost 40-year miracle of the manna falling to the Jewish people, and that represents Hashem providing for every Jewish soul miraculously, day after day, Dvar Yom B'Yomo. So it means that it's also connected to the whole mentality of Shirat HaOmer, counting the Omer, because counting the Omer is also day after day. Every day we make a new bracha, and don't forget a day, just like most people don't forget to eat a day. Some people do, like Rabbi Isaac of Homo and others, just forget. They never fast, but sometimes they forget to eat. But just like most people do not forget to eat, so it's Dvar Yom B'Yomo. In the same way that Dvar Yom B'Yomo in the desert was the man, and we also know that the man was given to us in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu, B'zchut Moshe Rabbeinu. That the 3 siblings, each one in his merit, in her merit, a different gift, a precious gift was given to the Jewish people. The manna was given in the merit of Moses, and Moshe Rabbeinu in the Be'er Rashi Miriam, the water. Whenever we drink water, that's in the merit of Miriam. And the Ananei HaKavod, the clouds that protected the camp and did other miraculous things like iron the clothes, and that was in the merit of Aaron. when the two older siblings, Miriam and Aaron, passed away in the last year, in the 40th year of the sojourn in the desert, so all three continued in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. But his primary gift means that the primary affinity of his soul is to providing us with sustenance. The man is physical sustenance, but it also symbolizes spiritual sustenance, because the Torah that he gives us is the spiritual mazon. But the manna is called lechem min hashamayim. It's bread from heaven. Whenever we eat bread, we say Motzi lechem min haaretz, from the earth. But the manna was for 40 years lechem min hashamayim, just like the Torah is also called Torah min hashamayim, the same idiom. Meaning that the man is actually bringing down the heaven to earth, bringing down spirituality in general and divinity to our earthly reality. So once more, Rashi says that the man was given today. It's a very significant thing. That this is the day that we have to have consciousness that Hashem is giving us, miraculously providing for us, sustaining us. Many of the Meforshim ask the question and say that when you calculate the dates from the Exodus from Egypt, so the Exodus itself was on a Thursday, the 15th of Nisan. If you make a simple calculation, so it comes out that today, the 15th of Iyar, is actually Shabbos. So the question is asked that how could the man begin to fall on Shabbos? The whole 40 years it didn't fall on Shabbos. There was a double portion that fell Erev Shabbos on Friday. So most of the Meforshim explain that the matzah that they had until today finished today, and then since they needed to continue to eat, so just at the end of the day, into Motzei Shabbos, into the night of tomorrow, I mean just now in the late afternoon of today, going into the night, that's when it fell for the first time. So they had Melav Malka already from Manna. But nonetheless, the quotation in Rashi is that it actually was today. So but how does that reconciled? In the beginning of creation, on the seventh day of Shabbos, it says, Vayivarech Elokim et Yom HaShvi vayikadesh oto. That Hashem blessed the seventh day, and He sanctified it. To sanctify, the word sanctification, vayikadesh oto, means separation. It means something which is not physical. So how is that explained by the sages? That Rashi also brings this actually. So this is a way to explain Rashi, that he brings in Pshuto Shemikra, Ben Chamesh Lemikra, the shita of the pshat of Rashi, that Vayevarech Elokim et Yom HaShvi Baman. What was the blessing? That there were a double portion. So it's like Kol Maaseh Shabbat Kvodim, everything about Shabbos is double. It's in pairs. And Shabbos was blessed with manna, and it was sanctified. How was it sanctified with the manna? It was sanctified that it didn't fall on Shabbos. It's like a davar v'hipuchos. There's a paradox about Shabbos vis-a-vis the manna. That the blessing of the man relates to Shabbos, and the fact that it didn't fall also relates to Shabbos. So there's something about the negation of not falling that itself has to do with the blessing. How so? So in Chassidut explain in length that anything which descends from spirituality has become tangible and physical. So it goes through several, or many stages, and but the beginning of the process is not yet visible. The beginning of the process is in heaven itself. And the beginning of the process of the man descending from heaven to earth, whilst in heaven yet, that's what happens on Shabbos. Meaning that the real falling of the man, which is falling in heaven before it reaches the earth, that takes place on Shabbos. That's the blessing of the man on Shabbos. Because as soon as that begins, anything that begins will continue, will end. So the chidush, the innovation of the man happens on Shabbos. So it means that it's true that the man is now the beginning of the falling, the descent of sustenance, and also it already alludes to the giving of the Torah, which is also lechem min hashamayim. The Torah itself is called bread. The lachamu belachami. It's bread from heaven, Torah min hashamayim. So the beginning of the descent, which is the chidush, the essence, is right now. And then it already materializes this evening. Just another few hours. But that's what's happening right now, spiritually. At that moment that the manna was given to us, so Moshe Rabbeinu was mitaken. He fixed, or he said, what's the word in English? The first blessing of the Birkat Hamazon. When we bench after eating bread, a meal. So the first of the blessings, which is called Birkat Hazan, Hazan et Olam Kulo B'Tovo B'Chen B'Chesed U'Rachamim, and then the end of the blessing is Baruch Atah Hashem Hazan et HaKol. He composed, right? He composed and enacted. He composed and enacted today or this evening the first blessing, his blessing. He wrote it and he gave it to us to say after eating the manna today. Birkat Hazan. The second blessing, Joshua composed and enacted for the Jewish people. The third blessing, David and Shlomo b'Yerushalayim. The fourth blessing is from the Rabbanan, from the sages. After the destruction of Beitar, it has to do with the Lag BaOmer a little bit. But the origin, which is the essence of blessing Hashem for the food that He gives us, is also today. So it's the bread, the blessing of the bread, together with the blessing over the bread. They should eat and to satiation and bless. So before today, there always was spontaneous blessing, but an actual prayer, a specific prayer, how to bless Hashem, what to say. So Moses composed it today. It's also something special to even every time that when we say Birkat Hamazon, to have in mind that the first blessing is this is Moshe Rabbeinu, is giving us. The second is Joshua when the Jewish people entered the land of Israel. The third is in Yerushalayim when David and Shlomo HaMelech built the Beit HaMikdash. the conclusion, which is the essence, the tamtzit, or the essence of that first blessing, is the last phrase, Baruch atah Hashem, hazan et hakol. Blessed are you, Hashem, who provides for all, sustains all. So maybe somebody here likes, a few people I think like numbers a little bit. The others will just bear with us. In that phrase, Baruch atah Hashem hazan et hakol, which is the essence of what Moses composed today, there are 19 letters. Kiminan Chava, that's the first woman of creation, Eve. And if you calculate the gematria of the whole phrase, Baruch atah Hashem hazan et hakol, so there's an average value. It means that the whole number is divisible by 19, which is the chance of which is 1 in 19, of course. And the average value comes out to be exactly the most important word in the phrase, which is hazan, which equals 62. A very straightforward, beautiful gematria. That the average value of each letter, Baruch atah Hashem, hazan et hakol, is hazan. He provides. So it means that we should meditate a little bit on this word, hazan. Especially since the blessing also begins the same way. It begins, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hazan. Instead of saying hazan et hakol, it says hazan et haolam kulo b'tuvo b'chen b'chesed u'b'rachamim. So it begins hazan et haolam, and it ends hazan et hakol, everything. He provides for everyone, for everything that He created. So there must be something very, very strong about this word hazan. Hazan, of course, is the root of mazon, of food, sustenance. But in Kabbalah, it's also taken always to be the initial letters of male, female. Zohar, nekeva, zan. So there's something about coupling male and female in the concept of providing, especially providing food in a miraculous manner. Hazan, the way Hashem provides us. Even though our bread is now lechem min haaretz, it's bread from the earth, but still it's coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. It's all hazan. Again, Moshe Rabbeinu composed this on the man, not on the lechem min haaretz, on lechem min hashamayim. But we say it, we continue to say it forever and ever on the lechem min haaretz. It's still the same hazan. So what this suggests to us, and this we'll do in the continuation, is to try to understand. This is also in continuation to the class that we had in English this past Sunday, a few days ago. To try to understand the male-female relation and how it combines in day after day provision of sustenance. The very word hazan that we said the average value of each letter is hazan equals 62. That number appears in creation as the phrase tov mo'od, very good. At the very end of creation, after everything was created, Hashem looked at everything that is created in the 6 days, and He saw that it was very, very good. Every particular creation, He just saw that it was good. But at the end, when He looked at everything, especially after having now created man and Zohar and Kippah, men and woman together, so he saw that now all of creation is very good. And that the phrase very good, Tov Mod, that's the number is 62, which equals Hazan. That's when it begins Hazan and it ends Hazan, the first blessing of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, before we now go into this topic, that will be the major topic. You just said you have to. It's not. You have to have males and females.
For what?
Not just females. A few males also.
Oh,
Okay, since Meir just walked in, so we'll say something about Meir.
Oh.
But yesterday, I wanted to talk about actually four topics, three of which are just as short ideas, and then one we'll try to do it more than length. Three short ideas are the significance of today, which we already said, and that yesterday, which was Pesach Sheni, is Nito Ken Verfallen. So it's also the yahrzeit of Rabbi Meir Balanes. That's why many people on this day of Pesach Sheni go to Tveria to Lishtater, to pray at the kever of Rabbi Meir Balanes. It has to do with Meir. Meir is not a name from the Tanakh. There is actually the first mayor that we have is Rabbi Meir. And but the Arizal teaches us that he's alluded to in the Torah, especially in one very important place that we'll say now. But that yesterday, Pesach Sheni, that was still in the continuum of Pesach Sheni, is the day of Meir. Then another few days of Lag BaOmer, which is Rabbi Shimon. Both of them were the two prime disciples of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Meir is Balanes. That doesn't say about any other great Tana sage that he's the master of miracle. You do miracles. In the Talmud, the most important the miracle that the sages describe at length, the story in the Talmud, for which reason he is referred to as Balanes, is that miraculously his sister-in-law was captured by the Romans, taken captive, and in Rome put into a house of harlots, and she had to guard herself, and Rabbi Meir, the brother-in-law, came, and there are guards there. It's a whole institution. We won't tell the whole story with all the details, but he miraculously was able to redeem his sister-in-law. And even to do a miracle for the guard, that he wasn't caught himself, to promise him to be with him in the world to come. And this miracle is considered to be so great that that's why it's called Rabbi Meir Balanes, the master of miracles. It's a miracle that also has to do with the purity of the Jewish people, and especially the purity of the doing a miracle for a girl that with Mesirut Nefesh is guarding her own purity. this all the miracle took place in Rome. Where is he alluded to according to the Arizal in the Torah? Towards the end of the Torah in Parashat Nitzavim, there's a verse that reads that V'hanochri asher yavo mi'eretz rechoka. The foreigner, the Gentile, that will come from a faraway land. So the Arizal says that Gentile that is coming from a faraway land is actually referring to Meir, to Rabbi Meir. How so? What's the allusion? That the four words, Asher Yavo Meir to Rechoka, that will come from a faraway land. The initial letters spell the name Meir. So the Arizal says that this is the origin of Meir in the Torah, this verse. What does he have to do with this verse? That the verse once more reads the Gentile that will come from a faraway land. So it's because he is a descendant of Gentiles. Rabbi Meir is according to the Arizal, even sounds as though he himself is a convert, but most people will say that he's the son of a convert. And not just a convert that we don't know the Goyish lineage, but we do know his Goyish lineage, which is that he's a descendant just not too far away from his grandfather Nero Caesar. Neron Caesar. You read about him when you were a kid? That's where you come from.
What about Meir? Meir and Meir are the same.
The same. In the word V'hanochri, in the Gentile, the foreigner, so actually have all the letters of Neron Caesar. He was a very, very wicked emperor, Caesar. But there was, just like in Esau himself, there were some very great nitzots, holy spark, that had to be redeemed. It says that Yitzchak Avinu, Isaac loved his son Esau because he had sparks in him. One of the greatest of the sparks is Rabbi Meir, that had to be redeemed. So he is called Hanochri, the foreigner, the Gentile that comes from a faraway land. Meaning that there's something about Pesach Sheni, that's his day, yesterday, that has to do with Gi'ur Ka'alacha, with righteous Gentile, righteous converts to the Jewish people. This is a very simple idea that I don't know if anybody writes about it, but the lesson that we all know of Pesach Sheni is it's nito kinfarfal, that it's never too late. You can always do tshuva. But you might think that just goes for Jews. That if a Jew was tamei, was impure, or b'derech rechuka, and once more, derech rechuka is a very similar phrase, idiom. He was on a faraway way. He can come back, and he has another chance to bring the Korban Pesach on Pesach Sheni. But if we just abstract the concept that it's never too late, and you can always come back. So let's say that it goes for goyim also. That you were born a goy, you happen to be a goy, but it's never too late. If you want to be a Jew, you can do it. You still have a chance, even though you were born a goy. You still have a chance to become a Jew in this reincarnation. You don't have to wait for another reincarnation. You have a chance right now. So obviously this very, very strongly relates to what we're now calling the last few years the fourth revolution of the Torah, of bringing the Torah to all of the peoples of the earth. And obviously we don't proselytize in the way that the Goyim do. And a person has to become aroused in himself to become a Jew, but to present him with the light and to say, if you're really sincere, we're going to see if you're really sincere. But if you're really sincere, then we'll be more than happy to welcome you into the fold of the Jewish people. That approach, which is a new approach, is not just that we're teaching all the Goyim to do their Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noach, but we're saying that once more, there's a way. It depends on your sincerity. But we're here to help you. If you want to do it all the way, not just halfway. The concept halfway house. That's the seven mitzvot b'nei Noach. But this is a month of healing. Ani Hashem Rofecha. So we want to heal humanity. The true healing of humanity, which is once more this month, it's in Chazal. There's many opinions that the true healing is that all people will be, at some stage will become Jewish, whoever remains. So we're already, like the Rebbe said, we're already living b'yemot HaMashiach. We're into the future, right now in the present. In any event, that's much more taking the lesson of Pesach Sheni and extending it to encompass everything and everybody. So that definitely that's a very beautiful way to understand the relation of Pesach Sheni to Rabbi Meir. It's once more Rabbi Meir. His origin is the Gentile who comes from a faraway land. That's where the Arizal finds Rabbi Meir alluded to in the Torah. In this phrase, there's also a very beautiful gematria similar to the one that we did before. That if you calculate the value of those four words, Asher Yavo Me'eretz Rechuka, the average value of the four words exactly equals the previous word, V'hanochri, and the Gentile. Meaning that all four words are and the Gentile, and the Gentile, and the Gentile, and the Gentile, Asher Yavo Me'eretz Rechuka, and the five words together. Once more, the average value of the five words is the first of the five words of V'hanochri. In the phrase itself, there's another word which equals exactly the same number, the word eretz, land. Something very earthly about righteous conversion. Okay, so now it's about Rabbi Meir and the Pesach Sheni, and how to extend that teaching to our generation, to include all of humanity. That has to do, you can tell that to Trudy also, that's what she's doing, was supposed to be doing. So that was just point number 2. Point number 3 is about Rachel. We'll go back to Rachel. Trudy's Hebrew name is also Rachel. She's another Rachel. Just like the Arizal finds a verse in the Torah that alludes to Meir, so also he finds a verse in the Tanakh which alludes to Rachel, a very beautiful verse, which is Chadashim Labkarim Rabba Emunatecha. New every morning, how great is your faith. From this verse, we say the first thing that we wake up in the morning, we say Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarti bi nishmati b'chemla rabba emunatecha. That phrase, your faith is very, very great. Faith means loyalty. Your loyalty to give us anew every morning, to renew our souls, to give us back after sleeping a fresh new soul. That's called that your faithfulness is very, very great. One of the interpretations is that from the experience of being renewed every morning, we also gain faith in the resurrection to be. Because it's just like a little taste of coming back to life. So that's called Rabba Emunatecha. The ultimate faith of the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam is the faith in resurrection. So that faith, it becomes reinforced every single morning when we wake up and we say Rabba Emunatecha. There's to take that experience of myself being refreshed, coming back to life, and once more extending that ultimately. The verse reads once more, Chadashim labkarim rabba emunatecha. New every morning, how great is your faith. The first three words was more the initial spell, Rachel. So this is once more coming from the results that Rachel is alluded to in these words. There are perhaps many other verses in the whole Bible, the whole Tanakh, but if the Arizal picks this verse, it means that this is the verse. So this is the verse that he picks. Chadashim labkarim rabba emunatecha. Why does he pick this verse? Why does this have to do with Rachel? Before we go to sleep at night, we say Biadcha afkid ruchi. In your hands I am what's afkid? I'm giving over my soul, my spirit, for you to guard it. The initial letters of that phrase, Biadcha afkid ruchi, spell be'er, well. So the idiom is that there's a well, a spiritual well of souls above. And at night, all of the souls go back to the well. And in that well, they all become refreshed and gain a new life. And then we draw, just like you draw water out of a well. So every morning, all of the souls are drawn out of the well, refreshed and renewed. That well, in Kabbalah, explains the Arizal, is the soul of Rachel Imenu. She's Malchut, it's called Yesod HaMalchut, the well of the Malchut, means that in Rachel, that all of the souls go back to the well of the all-inclusive soul of Knesset Yisrael, of the Jewish people, which is Rachel. And every morning they're reborn. So that's why this is the verse that the Arizal says is the origin of Rachel. Chadashim labkarim means that Rachel is a consciousness that every morning, so to speak, she was barren. But she is a spiritual power that every morning all souls of Israel are reborn and renewed. But the word is chadashim, that something new. And it's every morning you have to wake up, not refreshed. A person can be refreshed, but renewed means that you're new, like a new person. Like it says that about Tshuva is a new person, a ger is a new person. So once more, the real experience of waking up in the morning is waking up new. It's called Chadashim Labkarim. Rabba emunatecha, and that experience comes from Rachel. So that's also something very special about Rachel. Once more, Rachel is the fourth regel of the Merkava, which is the letter Reish of Iyar, of this month of Iyar. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Rachel. And it's that Reish, that Rachel, it especially shines today. Because this is Siara Bashtamuta, the full moon of this month of Iyar. There's something else that the Arizal says, that it's a common denominator between Rachel and David. Before David is born, so Rachel is exclusively the fourth leg of the Merkava. As soon as David comes on the scene, so in a certain sense he replaces her. As we'll see, women are modest. If David comes along, so he can take my place. But she's the origin of the fourth leg. What do they have in common, besides both of them being Malchut? So the Arizal is also from the Arizal. He says a very simple but very, very deep thing. He says that both of them are the rectification of the ego. Both of them have to do with the word ani, I. Whenever you say I, so in one place he says that I is Rachel. In the verse, there's a famous verse that reads V'ani tefillah, that in Psalms David HaMelech says, and I am prayer, which is also taken to mean that I is David, and that the rectification of his I, of his ego, is his continuous state, experience of prayer, like it says, he brings in Tanya that alavai shitpalal adam kol hayom kolo, that it would only be that a person continuously, it's called tefillah matmeret, a ongoing prayer, not in your lips, but in your heart, always beseeching, for every breath, beseeching God and giving thanks to God. Just like every prayer, first we praise, then we ask, then we thank. So that's a process that can take place every moment of one's life. To praise and to ask, which is to beseech and to give thanks. So in one place it says that rectified I, which is not a egocentric and egoistic ego, but it's nonetheless, it is a certain state of self-consciousness. Only Malchut has self-consciousness. And very often self-consciousness can become very, very negative if it's aggrandized and it's just me. But if that self, that I, is always dependent and connected to God, to rely solely on God, that's the rectification of one's self-consciousness. And so in one place, the Arizal says that that's the essence of the soul of Rachel. That Rachel is the rectified I. And God himself, very, very often Hashem uses the word for himself. Ani rishon v'ani acharon, ani hu. I. God likes the word I about himself. Right? This last Shabbat we read the Klal Gadol Shabbat Torah, the most all-inclusive principle of the Torah, which is V'yahavta l'reacha kamocha. What's the continuation? Ani Hashem. All of the most important mitzvot in the Torah conclude with I am God. So one explanation, I am God to give reward and to punish, but there's something much deeper than that. That in the mitzvot of the Torah, there's a manifestation of I am God. The mitzvah itself is I am God. And you should love your neighbor as yourself, I am God. Aniyavai. This is Aniyavai. That's the ultimate Aniyavai. Once more, that rectified I and being able to reflect and to experience I am God in your own I, who was able to do that? Also a Malchut figure of the sages, Hillel HaZaken. In Simchat Bet HaShoevan Chag HaSukkot, he used to say, Mani kan hakol kan. If I'm here, everything is here. How could he say that? He was the most humble of all the souls. But the Zohar says that Shechinta di'ikreani, when his eye was the eye of the Shekhinah. In the beginning of Chasidus, the Baal Shem Tov of the Magid, so if you weren't yet at a very high level, so it was like taboo to say the word ich, I, in Yiddish. Like a bad word. But if a person, this is what the Talmidim of the Magid used to say, if you're at the level that every word that you say, you're miyached yichudim, you make unifications, and your ich equals kel, aleph lamed, which is the name of God. So if you're at that level, that when you use the word ich, that's 31, which is kel, and it's for real, it's not just numbers, then you can say ich, and you can say I. So once more, that rectified I, and the ability to say I, to have self-conscious as divine consciousness, that's Rachel and also David. Two different aspects, but it's a common denominator of the two of them. So about Rachel, which is the Reish of this month, Iyar, which shines now today, there are these two very important things. The concept that she is the I of the Jewish people. In one sense, she's the whole Knesset Yisrael, and she is the well of that all the souls are in this well. But in consciousness, she is the I of the Jewish people. Just like Hashem says, Ani Ani, he uses the word twice. Ani Ani Hu, I. So that also can be related to Rachel and David. First, I is Rachel, and then I becomes David. Vani Tfilah. One... מה? כן? כן? זה לא ידעתי. בסדר, יפה. כן. אז נעשה, לכבוד זה נעשה עוד גמטריה. אם אני זה רחל, ככה כתוב בכתבי אריזות, that's what the Arizal says. So let's do a process of very simple, since both of these two simple words have three letters, so we can perform a process which is called, in physics it's called dot product, which is particular multiplication, multiplying the aleph of ani times the reish of Rachel, and then the nun. Well, here another Rachel has joined us. Baruch Hashem. The only thing I say, that's the tshuva. The only thing which bothers me is that you didn't hear what we said until now. That's but you will hear it. So everything.
Did anybody tape it?
It's taped, and it's written.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So let's take these two words and do this process, this simple process which is called the dot product. 1 times 200. Aleph times Resh equals 200. Then Nun, 50 times Chet, 50 times 8. The Nun of Ani. We're now multiplying the 3 letters of Ani by the 3 letters of Rachel. I am Rachel. So, Aleph, 1 times Resh. This somebody will show you. 200. Then the next dot product is Nun times Chet. The 2 middle letters of the 2 words are Chen, or Noach. Noach matzah Chen, Beinei Hashem. So what's that? It's 400. And that's 400. So we have 200 and 400 is already 600. And now, what's the last one? The last one is Yud. Yud times Lamed. 10 times 30. Which is 300. So we have 200 and 400 and 300. Altogether it equals 900. It means the average value of the 3 dot products is 300, but 900 is a perfect number. Perfect number in Kabbalah is a square number. It's a square of what? 900 is what squared? It's 30 squared. 30 is the final letter of Rachel. That Lamed squared, it has a special connotation to it in the sages actually. The letter Lamed is called Migdal HaPorech Ba'avir. It's a flying tower. And that flying tower perfected or inter-included every part of it within each part of it equals 900. Many other very important unifications equal this perfect number 900. Since it's Lamed times Lamed, it's referred to by Abulafia, one of the great early Mekubalim, as the secret of the Jewish heart, which is Rachel. Does anybody have here a Jewish heart on them? No? Because the Jewish heart is Lamed facing Lamed. Lamed facing Lamed, which creates the form of the Jewish heart. So it, numerically, it's 30 times 30, and that's actually Ani Rachel in this process, this simple process, which is called the dot product of I am Rachel. Well, it's after these 3 introductions, actually, these 3 points, now we'll turn to what we wanted to devote ourselves most to today, which has to do with the first thought of Zan, meaning being the initial letters of male and female. And since many of the women here teach girls, so it's very important to have as much knowledge and material to explain to, if you're teaching girls, to explain to girls what a girl is, what a girl is supposed to be, and how to manifest the traits of a good Jewish girl. Who remembers what was the best-selling book for the whole decade in the whole world? It sold over I think 15 million copies.
I managed him.
She was his manager.
Yeah, I put him on Broadway.
His name is Gray, yes?
And Shlomo loved him.
And he has Jewish children. His children are Jewish. His wife is Jewish.
Yes. Where is he now? What's he doing now?
Ask his manager.
He's still talking along on the, but he's not as big as he used to be because his wife, she felt his ego was getting too big, and she said, "You need to come back and put your hands in the earth and come back to earth again." Because he had bought his own plane and he was flying around. He was becoming not John Gray. And she made him come down to work. She's a Jewish woman. And she didn't want him having all that success because she felt it was not healthy for her.
Where do they live now?
They live outside San Francisco, and he's doing a lot less. He's not.
Right, we tried to get, Shlomo wanted him for one of our, to speak at one of our banquets.
He was going to come. No, he just said he would come.
Right.
But then he had a conflicting thing that night.
Does he have kids? Does they have children?
Yeah, Jewish children.
Jewish children.
And Shlomo was always very. He was connected. He liked his work. He liked what he said. He liked what he did. Really? Really? He learned his work well.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So what is a Jewish girl and what are her traits?
Bring it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, we need to know. Thank you.
So first of all, there's a lot of controversy amongst in psychology today whether men and women are really from different planets. Well, the first thing that this book suggests is that a man and a woman have such different mindsets that they're from different planets. So some psychologists will say that that's a total exaggeration of the truth. But nonetheless, there's some difference. It's the question of how the extreme is the difference, and how to define we had another class a few days ago, a class in Hebrew, but it was for a kinus, a gathering that took place in the Hebrew University about on the topic of Gula together, of war and peace, was it like Kabbalah or the science, Torah and science, and war and peace and redemption. That was the title of this convention. And one of the things that we spoke about, I wasn't there, but we recorded something and wrote something for this gathering. But just that the peace of mind, peace of soul, is a state of spiritual equilibrium, which is the word that's used in the Zohar for tikkun, for rectification. To be in a rectified state is to be in a balanced state. It's called matkala, is the term in the Zohar. That if you're balanced in a state of equilibrium, then you also continue to live forever. Because in death or war, anything that has to do with conflict, is because things are not in a state of equilibrium. But peace is matkala, that's the term in Hebrew, a perfectly balanced state. So we gave a few examples of what this is even in thermodynamics, and even in the very simplest number theory. And the very simplest phenomenon is that there are two types of numbers. And this comes from Kabbalah. There are odd numbers and even numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One is odd. Even though there were mathematicians 300 years ago that said not to count one as either odd or even. But now it's accepted universally that one is a odd number. But then the question becomes, what about zero? So still people become confused. This is a topic for teaching mathematics in elementary schools. To ask children what they think if zero is an odd number or an even number. And you get all kinds of, the whole variety, the whole spectrum of answers. But once more, universally, according to mathematicians, 0 is even. 1 is odd, means that the numbers begin with an even number. If you begin counting from 0, so you're beginning from an even number. And then 1 is odd, and then it continues forever and ever, odd even. What is odd even? So in Kabbalah, already says, we're taught that the odd numbers are the male numbers, and the even numbers are the female numbers. So it means that all of the men are odd, and all of the women are even. So that's number one, where men come from and where women come from. Either odd or even. Women it says that women, if a woman has a judgment, property of din called midat din, the attribute of judgment. So, but her judgment has to be sweetened, but if it's not yet sweetened, her judgment. So, this is a pun of words in English. It doesn't work in Hebrew, but it's very, very significant and true. That in a relationship, she wants things to come out even. What does it mean, even? That I gave you this much, I want in return to receive this much. Things should be even. The cheshbon, the calculation at the end, things should come out even. But a man thinks, no, a man is odd. So he knows that things can't be even. One has to get a little bit more than the other, and that's me. You agree? Sometimes. There's another thing that I think, even I didn't read the book, Men Are From Mars, but I think that it says there that something which is very true and actually comes straight from the Tanya. If we'll use two, I don't know even if he uses these words, but if we use two words, one is amplitude and the other is frequency. So men like amplitude, or more in tune. This has to do with music also. Men like loud music, amplitude. But women are into frequency. What does it mean in a relationship of give and take? Amplitude means that you appreciate big gifts, big things, big sounds. But frequency means that you appreciate and you like smaller portions, smaller measures, but frequent. Regularity.
It's in the book.
What?
It's in the book.
It's in the book, yeah. Where does this thought come from in the Tanya? It says that a person can give a lot of charity in one time. But it says it's not as good as if you give little bits of charity, but regularly. And it says there in the Tanya that if you give regularly charity, so every gift that you give is a tremendous rectification and we'll call it pleasure for the Shekhinah, for the feminine figure, for the indwelling light of God in the world, which is called the Shekhinah, which is a feminine concept, from which we can understand that feminine mentality or feminine character and nature is to appreciate or to like regular gifts. Not necessarily big gifts, but regular. Meaning that there's something very deep about a woman that she appreciates the giver even more than the gift. The gifts are just a symbol. But if the gift is given regularly, also the frequency, it doesn't mean that it has to be a fast frequency. It can be a slow frequency also. It has to be regular. And what's appreciated is not so much what you give, but the fact that you're giving me today and you're giving me tomorrow. It's just like the manna. It goes back to the manna that fell today. The experience of the manna is we, the Jewish people, being in a feminine posture that we appreciate. God says, don't take a lot for tomorrow. Don't take big. Don't take more than you need. Take every day exactly what you need. And appreciate the fact that God is renewing His gift day after day. That's the deep secret of the month. Meaning that He's teaching us, everyone, to assume what we'll call a feminine posture of more appreciating the frequency, and once more, it doesn't have to be every second. The word tamid, which means continuous, in the Torah can sometimes mean once a day. Sometimes tamid means once a week. The thing, like in lechem hapanim, it means once a week. In the korban tamid, the sacrifice of every day, is once a day. It's not every second, but it's continuous. That's the service of Hashem also, that every day we bring another offering of thanksgiving to Hashem. So once more, to want high amplitude, that's odd. But to desire regular frequency, because not once more, the word is that not the gift itself is not the most important. What's most important is that you gave me. It's coming from you, so the manna also that God gives us every day, that's what's important. There were some great tzaddikim that just ate in order to be able to make a blessing. They weren't really hungry. To appreciate that God is giving me. All right, so now we'll go on to explain more in depth about male-female, about Hazan et olam kulo b'tuvo, Hazan et hakol. Once more, the word Zan now is the male-female relationship. I'll now ask a question. Male and female, I don't know, but it probably relates to this in the book also, but I don't know. Some people are extroverts, others are introverts. How does that fit in with the male-female? Are males more extroverts and females more introverts, or the opposite, or it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. So nowadays in psychology, it says that it doesn't matter. What? Right, that's because you learned Torah, so that's why I think that. Nowadays, not in modern psychology, they're taught that it doesn't matter. That you can have girls that are extroverted, social, have to be with friends. Chazal say that women talk all the time, so they talk all the time is like as being extroverted. And even in some sources it says that nowadays men are really more introverted than females. but if you would ask me, again, maybe because I also have been involved with the Torah studying for a long time. So my first thought would be that, just like Chanorocha said, that men are extroverted and the women are introverted. Why would I think this? Because what does it say about a good woman? It says, Kol kvuda bat melech pnima. That the honor, the glory of a princess, of the daughter of a king, is inside. Means that she's within. Obviously, it has to do with the most important positive attribute of a girl. This is now for education of girls. What's number one midah tova, number one good attribute? Tzniut, modesty. So if a woman is educated to be modest, and the ultimate good adjective for a woman, isha, is tnua. More than even tzadeket, like righteous or whatever adjective you wanted to add to a woman. For a man, it's not like that. A man, the most important adjective, say it's tzaddik, he's tzaddik. But the most important for a woman is isha tnua, not isha tzadeket. Not to say that there is not an isha tzadeket, of course there is. But if tzaddik, how so is he a tzaddik? Tzaddik is a righteous person because he gives tzedakah. He goes out and he helps people. But women can also help people. It says in the Gemara that when a woman helps, actually her help is better than a man's help. But nonetheless, her nature, her character is one of being inward, not outward. So therefore, I would think that a man is an extrovert and a woman is an introvert. But now, once more, nowadays, that distinction has become blurred, totally. To the extent that, once more, you'll find, if you look it up, you open your iPhone and look up extrovert, introvert, you'll see there that now people think that just the opposite, that women are more extroverted and men are more introverted. Yes.
Like me, I'm extroverted in the world, in my business, but I'm actually an introvert. I'm a real introvert. I'm more comfortable at home, learning, studying, being quiet, but I can be an extrovert in business, so not in my personal.
Okay, so that's now what we're trying to talk about, how to blend, or to once more to interclude these two seemingly opposite properties. Somebody can be just like every person has a body and a soul, so spiritually also there's a body. And the body is the way a person relates to society, to the outside world. And the soul is what he is in himself. So definitely you can be an extrovert to the outside, you can be a social individual, but the question deep down is, where do you really prefer to be, at home or in the concert? Where do you like better to be? Right?
Definitely.
Right.
So, we'll either take a concert.
Again, the reason we're getting into this is because, as we discussed in the class on Sunday in English, now gender distinction is one of the most important topics in the world, and mixture of gender, that a male can feel female and a female can be male, and what do you do about it? So obviously, male-female gender identity also has to do with introvert and extrovert. If we'll say that really men are supposed to be extroverted and women are supposed to be introverted, let's say, than a female that is an extrovert, so she thinks she's a male. Maybe she really is, as we said on Sunday, but that the inter-inclusion of souls. And a man that feels an introvert, so maybe he's like Yitzchak Avinu that we talked about on Sunday, that he's a male body with a female soul. So again, this is a very, very tremendously important topic. When you study concepts that appear to be alternative or opposites, so you can relate to both as two extremes of one continuum, then the whole phenomenon is a line phenomenon. Let's take hot and cold as an example. Hot and cold are opposites, but today you're taught in school, and this is the truth, that it's one continuum, it's temperature. That it's one line. It's one-dimensional, it's not two-dimensional. That if it's on this side, it's hot. If it's on this side, it's cold. But it's just, if it's in the middle, it's lukewarm. So if we consider these two character states of extroversion and introversion as one continuum, then you're at some point in this line. Meaning that if I say that the person is, first of all, how do you call a person that's equally extrovert and introvert? There's a word for it in English. Ambivert. Ambiverts. Yeah. But that's relating to it. That's like relating to extrovert introvert as a line phenomena with a 0 point in the middle. If you're at the 0 level, it means that you're equally introvert and extrovert. But there's another way to relate to introvert and extrovert, and this is a deeper and more important way. That it's not a line phenomenon; it's a area phenomenon. It's a graph, which means it's two-dimensional, a two-coordinate phenomenon. A person has one coordinate of introversion and another coordinate of extroversion. You're some point in the area. Means that really you have so much introversion, you have so much extroversion, and it's two different coordinates, and you have to place yourself at some point in the plane. It's not that you have to place yourself some point on the line. So that's a much more mature approach to understanding that we can't say that one is good and one is bad. They both can be good, they both can be bad. Remember, you have to find a balance, but you have to be happy. A person can be introvert, and maybe the introversion will bring him to depression. He has no social life. He's all by himself. He doesn't like social life, but nonetheless he becomes depressed because he's all by himself. So that's bad. So, nonetheless, what we now said is that it has to be related to as a plane, not as a line. And if you'll once more study articles on this in psychology, some psychologists relate as a line, and some will relate as a two-dimensional, a two-coordinate system. Now, all of the secrets of the Torah are included in the Hebrew language. That's why it's so important. Anybody that wants to understand Kabbalah and Chassidut and Torah in general has to try to learn and to master as much as he can the Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue of Hebrew. One of the basic differences between Hebrew and English is that in English most nouns do not have gender to them. Nouns, a table is neither male or female. A noun does not possess a gender. But Hebrew is such a language that every noun, every word possesses gender. It means you have to know if a table is male or a table is female. And it just happens to be to really explain why shulchan, why table in Hebrew is male, is not a simple thing at all. I might think the table is a symbol even for a female symbol, but as a word, just in Hebrew, now we're talking about Hebrew grammar. As a word, and Hebrew grammar is the basis of everything, of all of Kabbalah and Chassidut. Table happens to be a male word. And very interestingly, when table is in plural, so the suffix is like a female suffix of plurality, shulchanot, not shulchanim, but nonetheless it's shnei shulchanot, it's two, it's a male word. Also meaning that gender confusion and inter-inclusion exists in the language itself. Like here, something is in the male. It's a male noun. The plurality, if you have a lot of them, it sounds like it's female, but it's still male. Many words like that. But the words like that are nonetheless exceptions to the rule. Usually a male word will have a male suffix in the plural. And it will always be, all the adjectives that refer to it will all be male, because it's a male word. There's something very special about, in the Hebrew language, about nouns. There are two basic types of nouns, not just in Hebrew, also in English. But just in Hebrew, as we said, nouns have gender. There are abstract nouns, called Shem Etzem Mufshat, and there are tangible nouns. Like we said, table is a tangible noun, something in the real world. It's a word, it's a thing. Kisei, chair, kos, anything which is tangible is a word that's called in Hebrew the term is Shem Etzem Muchashi. Muchashi means a tangible noun. But there are abstract nouns like thought, wisdom, understanding, all of any concept which is an abstract concept. It's not a tangible object, but it's a noun. Wisdom is a noun. It's a Shem Etzem Mufshat is the term. It's an abstract noun. So there's something very amazing that most abstract nouns are feminine, or women. Machshava, Chokhmah, Bina, Hitpa'alut, Hitbonanut, Histaklut. Most, it's not a rule, there are always exceptions to the rule. Most abstract reality is feminine in Hebrew. And most real reality, or tangible reality, or physical, material reality is masculine, for some mysterious reason. Once more, even though a shulchan, table, can be a feminine symbol, but it's still masculine. It's still a male word. because it's a tangible object. So what does that teach me now about men and women, where men are from and where women are from? So that definitely suggests to me that women are abstract. That there's something abstract, meaning there's some which is like introversion. It's just this is a very, very significant thing, because you might think just the very opposite. Very often it says, even in the Zohar, it says that man and woman are like soul and body. So if it's soul and body, it's the opposite. Or it says in the Zohar that man and woman are heaven and earth. Man is the heaven and woman is the earth. So that sounds the opposite. Now we're saying that abstract reality is feminine and tangible reality is relatively more masculine. To understand this, there's a ma'amar, one of the most important discourses in Likutei Torah of the Alter Rebbe, called V'afu es nashim lach mechem b'tanur echad. It has to do with bread. That 10 women will bake your bread in one oven. And the way he explains it is that the 10 women are the 10 inner dimensions or abstract levels of the soul. It means the introverted dimension of the soul. And the 10 corresponding men are the extroverted levels of the soul. So it's like we said, that I would think that men are more extrovert and women are more introvert. But there's also a way to believe the very opposite. If we'll go back to the fact that everyone has a body and a soul. Something about the male that reflects the heavens, and the female that reflects the earth. That's a relatively more outer dimension of male and female. But the inner, relatively more inner dimension of male and female is the very opposite, as we just now said. That female is abstract reality, and something deep within the male psyche that he relates to real reality. All right, let's try to find a source for this, what we now just said, besides the grammar. We reach this, what we now just said, from the simple analysis or contemplation of Hebrew grammar, which is the origin of all wisdom. There are many times in the Zohar that we find he is such and she is such. I mean, the whole thing that made this book a bestseller is the title, obviously. That he is like this and she's like this. That he's from Mars and she's from Venus. So he's a goy, right? He's just, but he's that phraseology is coming straight from the Zohar, because there are many, many expressions in the Zohar that he's like this or he's from this and she's from this. It's an idiom which repeats itself over and over in the Zohar. In Aramaic, it's called iu such and ihi such and such. Iu, he and she. He's this and she's this. there's just one place in the whole Zohar that there's a full list of 10 phenomena which correspond to the 10 sephirot of he is this and she is this. From this one I'll learn another thing about men and women. First we'll quote it. But if you want to write the source, or I want to look up the source, it's in the Zohar has three books with 3 volumes. So it's volume 3, page 230 on the first side of the page. Parashat Minchas in the Zohar. This is a one-time phenomenon in the Zohar of 10 sayings, one after the other, that he is this and she is this. 230, side 1, volume 3 of the Zohar. It begins like this: Iyu anav, ihi anava. He is humble, she is humility. I could read that word anava as a feminine adjective. She is a feminine, humble person. But the way that it's read is, and this is what's so significant now that we're not going to learn another thing about male and female, is that he is somebody. He's just like it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, that Aish Moshe Anav Mod Mikol Adam Asher B'nei Adama. He was the most humble of all men. So he's a humble one, a humble person. But about her, it doesn't say that. It could be read these same things. It could be read that she's a humble woman, but that's not the way to read it. The word is anava. She is humility. He is a humble one, and she is humility. Iyu anav, I anava. But it doesn't all continue like that. Then the next thing it says is Iyu chasid, ihi chasida. He is a chassid. That's number 2. First is humble, humility. Number 2 is to be a chassid. He's a chassid, and she's a chassidah, which is simply a feminine chassid. It doesn't say that she is kindness. It says he is a kind person, chassid, and she is also she's a kind woman. He's a kind man, and she's a kind woman. Then it continues like that. It says Iyu gibor. It continues in the order of the sephirot, as we'll explain. Iyu gibor. He is a courageous, strong man. He giveret, it says. Giveret is not a strong, necessarily a hero figure, but it's a leader figure. And it goes on to say that she's the giveret of kol umot ha'olam, of all of the peoples on earth. Then it changes its tone, and it says, and it doesn't talk about a person, about 2 people, or a person in a concept. It talks about 2 concepts. The next one is Iyu emet, I emunah. He is truth, she is faith. Then the next one is Ihu Navi. He is a prophet. Navi, and she's also a prophetess. The next one is Ihu Tzaddik. He's a Tzaddik. Vi Tzadeket. There's another place in the Zohar that says Ihu Tzaddik, Vi Tzedek. That's already making her a concept, not a figure. But in this particular place, it says Iyu tzaddik vi tzadeket. Then the last of this series is, which is also this is number 7 now. If we're counting how many. Number 7 is Iyu Melech. He's a king, and here it's very clear that it doesn't say I Malka, that she's a queen. It says I Malchut. She is kingdom. here it's more clear than ever that in certain cases, at certain levels, she is the concept, not the figure. Then, after this, now, we'll already say what is the order. The order in the sephirot, many of them we obviously understood what sephirah is talking about. But the order of sephirot is that anav is da'at. The first one, humility, is da'at. Moshe Rabbeinu, who is praised in the Torah as being the anav mikol adam, the most humble of all men on earth. He corresponds to da'at. Da'at is the beginning of the rectification, of the breaking of the vessels that took place in the primordial world of chaos. And the beginning of that rectification is all anava, is humility. Then the next one was chassid, that's chesed. After that comes chesed, then gibor is gibura. Then was like outstanding. An exception to the terminology is that emet, truth and faith, are tiferet. Because Yaakov is called emet, Yaakov represents tiferet Jacob, and his feminine counterpart is emunah. This is the origin, I don't know if anybody quotes it, that in one place in the Tanya, it says that chesed and gvura and tiferet are ahava, yirah, and emunah. And nobody knows where he got it from, that emunah is tiferet. But this is the origin in the Zohar. That the pair, means the couple of truth and faith, is the couple of tiferet. And then comes Navi, prophet and prophetess. They correspond to the two sephirot of Netzach and Hod together, which are called prophecy, in the origin of prophecy in Kabbalah. Then comes Tzaddik and Tzaddiket, which is obviously Tzaddik is Olam, which is foundation. And finally comes Melech and Malchut, which is Malchut. So those are the first seven that follow the direct order of the seven sephirot, which actually we now understand that this Zohar is obviously referring to Tikkun Olam HaTohu, meaning that the duality, the coupling itself is the Tikkun, is the rectification of the world of chaos that broke. How do I know? Because in that world, the kings of that world, which are the sephirot of that world, were not married. We said that tikkun is equilibrium. The state of equilibrium is when there's a couple, when there's a man and a woman together. So the beginning of equilibrium is the equilibrium of one's da'at, which is iyu anav, ihi anava. And the final, and once more, the Arizal explains that the seven kings that reigned and died, which means the breaking of the vessels, begin with Da'at, and Netzach and Hod are considered to be one, which is just like this lineage that we just now went through. It begins with Da'at and it ends with Malchut, and Netzach and Hod are one, and that's seven. So the male-female, the Zan relationship here is the tikkun of the seven kings of Tohu. What happens then? Then we go back to the two primary faculties of the mind, which are wisdom and understanding. And here it's also clear. It says, Iyu. The Zohar now continues, Iyu Chacham. He is the wise man. I chochmeta, which means wisdom. She is wisdom. Then it goes on to say, Iu mevin, he is the understanding person. I tvuna delay, she is his understanding. So those were the two faculties of the mind. Because Da'at we already had as the first faculty actually of the heart. So the mind per se has the two faculties of right and left of the mind, which are here called ואיהו חכם ואי חוכמתי חוכמה ואיהו מבין ואי תבונה, delay. Then the final one is going back to what's even above the mind, the super-rational level of the crown. So there it says, now this is like a new phraseology. Iu Keter, he is the crown. Once more, it's not a person. He's also abstract. At the level of crown, both of them are abstract. Means that both of them are just nouns, which is actually like Tiferet, because Tiferet in the heart reflects Keter. So it says, Iu Keter, he is the crown, and she is the Atara, the crown of the crown. Atara, delay. Atara is another synonym in Hebrew for crown. But just grammatically, the word crown, Keter, is a male word, and Atara is a female word. About the Eshet Chayil, we know the woman of valor, it says Eshet Chayil Ateret Ba'ala. She's the crown of her husband. What word is not Keter Ba'ala? Ateret Ba'ala. It's this word Atara. Both of the words as a verb mean to surround. If one surrounds and the other surrounds the surrounds. It's a higher level of makif, of surrounding light. Now, this also, the whole order of this progression exactly reflects the rectification of the whole initial world of soul. It all depends on mating and where you are in this mating process. The first, it says, the Arizal teaches us in depth, in the world of Torah, the 7 levels broke. But the 2 higher levels of the mind did not break, but what breaking is called shvira. The word shvira, shvirat hakelim, breaking of the vessels. Breaking also means to die. The 2 higher levels of chokhmah binah dedat nai, but they experience what's called bitul. Bitul is like faint. They fainted away. That's the meaning of bitul in this context. And the Keter experienced a different type, a different thing, which is called just pigam, just a little blemish. Bitul means that they fell in their own world. Shvira, breaking of the vessels or dying, means that you fall into a lower world. Once more, if you're in the world of Atzilut, to break, which is to die, means that you fall into a lower reality, a lower world altogether. Bitul means that you fall, but you fall still within your own world. You just fall to the ground level of your initial reality. And Pigam, the third thing that happened to the Keter, the crown, means that just as that the light becomes diminished, it becomes dimmed in you. So this is exactly the way that the Zohar orders these 10 pairs. At first there are the 7, which experience in the world of Torah, Shvira, breaking and falling into a lower reality, which is called dying. And then the 2, which just fell in their own reality, which is called Bitul. And then 1, which just experiences a blemish, became dim in itself. Some of them were once more male and female, the same thing, a chassid and a chassidah, a male chassid, a female chassid. Tzaddik and tzaddiket, a male tzaddik, a female tzaddik, which is called a tzaddiket. But some of them, and this is the chidush, some of them were not like that. That the male is a figure, and the female is a concept. That the male understands, and the female is understanding herself. The male is wise, and the female is wisdom. So, certain of them, like sephirot, we say both of them are concepts, truth and faith. In crown, both of them are two different synonyms for the word crown, keter and atara. But the fact that sometimes a woman is a figure and sometimes a woman is a concept is the concept of the person that has that ability, that talent. Like if you're wise, so sometimes a person is wise, he's married, means his wife is wisdom. He's married to wisdom. But sometimes his wife is a wise woman, because there's also a wise woman in the Torah also. Isha maskelet. Yashem Isha maskelet. So now the question is to women, to girls, what do you prefer to be? Do you prefer to be a person, or do you prefer to be a concept, an abstract concept? So now we can take questions and answers. So the fact that a woman can either be a person or can be an abstraction is the deep meaning of the fact that Jacob, who was the most all-inclusive of the fathers, was married initially to two women, which are called Leah and Rachel, two sisters. And Leah is called the hidden world, and Leah and Rachel we talked about Rachel, is called the revealed world. If a woman is a person, so she walks the face of the earth just like a man. She's a revealed figure. That's Rachel. But if a woman is an abstraction, which, as we said, that most nouns, abstract nouns, are feminine. Meditation, bonanut, palut, emotion, everything. It's all feminine. They're all feminine words. And not only is it feminine words, as we saw here from the Zohar, she can be the thing itself, the abstract reality itself. The first union of man and woman in the Torah is between Adam and Eve. What is the verb? The verb is to know. That he knew. So what does it mean to know? If you know something, so the thing that you know, maybe it's the knowledge itself. What do you know? You either know a person, or I know knowledge. So that very word know, yada, can also relate either to another individual or to the abstract knowledge that I know. Who remembers the name of the wife of the Baal Shem Tov? No? Leah Rachel. Leah Rachel. The Baal Shem Tov's wife had both names. What is the most important teaching of the Baal Shem Tov? Mi zot amin amidbar. That when every word that we speak to include and to unite the revealed level, which is we'll say the audible level of the word, and the inner kavanah, which is the inner thought of the word. One most important example of a male word, to see the relationship between male nouns and female nouns, is relating to the three levushim, clothings of the soul. Who remembers what are the three clothings of the soul? Machshava, dibur, maaseh, thought, speech, action. So just like we would not expect from having discussed what we discussed, the word machshava is female. But the word dibur and maaseh are both male. Because dibur and maaseh are both extroverted. It's called Or HaMe'il L'Zulato, light that shines to the other. But Machshava is introverted. Machshava is, the essence of introversion is thought. That's the term, that thought is light that shines within to me. So thought is a female word, but dibur is a male word. A woman has both. But the fact that a woman has both is actually two levels of womanhood. It's Leah, who is thought, and Rachel, who is speech. And the most important teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is that these two levels have to be united. And that's why his wife, that's the very name of his wife, Leah Rachel. Leah is called me, who, and Rachel is called Zot, she, this. Mi Zot ole min hamidbar. When you unite the me and the Zot, that makes the words elevate. Midbar is the words of speech. Elevate and reach Hashem and be answered. Another three levels, the first of which is feminine, and the next two are masculine or male, are the three heads of the crown, the very highest of the high. What are the three heads of the crown? Emunah, ta'anug, ratzon, faith, pleasure, and will. Faith is a feminine word. Not only is faith a feminine word, we just quoted now that ihi emunah. It's a feminine concept. It's a feminine word and a feminine concept. But the other two, pleasure and will, are both male words. Lashon Zohar. Even though these three are the three heads of the crown, and the previous three that we said are the three clothings of the soul, but in sephirot, Pardes, and Chassidut explains that they correspond to one another. Meaning that thought, machshava, corresponds to faith. Both are female. And speech is the expression of pleasure. That's why it says that even if somebody has an anxiety, if you just talk it out, that's why it's good to have a friend to talk with. The very talking itself sweetens the pain. Because there's something about talking that pleasure enters into words. And will is action. What you will, that's what you do. If you really will it. It says, Ein davar omed bifnei haratzon. If you really want something, you'll do it. So once more, the three heads of the crown, faith, pleasure, and will, themselves correspond to thought and speech and action. And the first of which are feminine. The woman is the highest of the high. But in particular, that woman figure is Leah, is actually the concealed word. And Ta'anug corresponds to Dibur and Ratzon to Maaseh. Now we'll conclude with one other thought. When we study, all of our study about the sephirot is that every sephirah has an outer expression and an inner soul, like chesed, loving kindness. Doing something, a kind deed, is chesed. Where does it come from? What motivates it? Ahava, love. So we say that the sephirah of chesed, which is the symbol of which in Kabbalah is the right hand, its inner soul is love. The left hand is gvura, its inner soul is yirah, and so forth and so on. The question is now, if we just think of the words, Chokhmah and Binah are both, they're abstract nouns, they're both feminine words, wisdom and understanding. But wisdom, its inner property is bitul, which is a male word. And Binah, understanding, its inner property is simcha, joy, which is a female. Meaning that wisdom is a man and a woman, inside a woman. And joy, happiness, is a woman inside a woman. She's totally a woman. There are only two such sephirot that are all women. That the body or the outer expression is feminine, and the inner soul of the motivation of that expression is also feminine. They're Bina and Malchut. Because Bina is a feminine word, understanding, and its inner motivation is Simcha, which is joy, which is also feminine. And Malchut is a feminine word, and its inner experience is, or inner motivation is Shiflut, lowliness, which is also feminine. There's just one male. All the others are mixes. It's like in music, when putting out a record, you have to, the final thing is mixed. All the sephirot are mixes of male masculinity and femininity. There's one which is Ihu b'netzach. That netzach, its inner property is bitachon, which is already a sign of what we teach, that bitachon is active, male confidence, self-confidence, to get up and do things, to take initiative. Netzach is male, and bitachon is also male. All the others are mixes. It's a very, very interesting phenomenon. You have two female, which is exactly the higher female level, which is the higher Hey of Hashem's name, Bina, and the lower Hey of Hashem's name. Ma? נכון, את צודקת. גבורה ויראה זה גם כן female. It's also, גבורה is בניין המלכות מן הגבורות. That's the intermediate between Bina. That's even makes it better. The intermediate between Bina and Malchut, which is a female thing, is Gvura and Yira. The verse reads Ani Bina di Gvura, and the corresponding is that Binyan Malchut Mina Gvura Mina Gvurot. So that's what connects Bina, the higher woman, to the lower woman. Gvura is also female. Of the inner properties of the soul, which ones are female? Emunah, Simcha, Ahava, Yira, both primary emotions, which are love and fear, are both female. Ahava, Yira. And then the last three, from Hut to Malchut, which is all female, that the inner properties are Tmimut, Emet. Emet, even though it says Iu Emet, but as a word, it's a female word. Truth. Tmimut, Emet, Veshiflu, all female. The inner properties. Of the 13 inner properties, 7 are female. Very significantly where they appear. Right, so this was what we wanted to talk about today. To be that Hazan et olam kulo betubo. That the mixture, the balance. First of all, the understanding of male, female, a little bit more, and that a state of balance has to be created in our psyches and in our lives, which is the gift of Moshe Rabbeinu that was given today, the gift of the Manna. Hazan et Akol. L'chaim. Yes.
So when we have like a Leah and a Rachel, where one is abstraction and the other one is reveal, how do we actually work with that in real life to make that balanced?
In this case, it's not balanced. To unite the both.
Okay, to unite them.
To unite them means a woman has to. the kol kvuda bat melech pnima, when she's introverted in herself, she has to become an abstraction, but in her real life she has to live. She has to be a person. A woman should have, ultimately, ideally, should have both levels too. I mean that she's a much more complex entity than a male, because she has to have these two persons to her. One person which is thought, which is the abstraction of who everyone. You have a property. Say your property is purple, let's say. So the purple can be a person, a purple person. But purple can be a concept. And you have to have both. And the woman has to be able to always go back from her reality to her abstraction. That's a complete human figure. And the male is not so complex. The male is much simpler than.
You said she has to have thought, and what was the other one? Thought and
Abstraction and reveal.
We said the thought corresponds to faith. The thought in the clothings of the soul corresponds to the highest of the three heads of the crown of the soul.
So what would be the inner world of a male as opposed to that?
What did you say? Baseball.
That's the base. Then everything rolls from there.
We want to take the example of Chokhmah, which is actually the highest male figure. We said that Chokhmah itself is a female word, but Bitul, its inner motivation, is male. It's a male word. So you can say that a male, his inner level is simply ayin, nothingness. On the outside he's something, on the inside he's garnished, right? Absolutely. But a woman is not. Now we'll get to maybe the best thing. That Mirza Hashem, we want to open now a new girls' school in Hashem Yazor in Yerushalayim, a new girls' high school. Because we have an elementary school, but we want to now continue with the high school. So it's a new school. And the graduates of the elementary school are now going to be the first class of the high school. Are very, very, very good girls. A lot of energy and desire to spread the light of Yiddishkeit around the world. Now I really want to get the opinion of the women who's sitting here. There's a Hasidic song which is "Sis als doch hevel avolim ein eid milvadi." You can play it afterwards. Sing it with the women. Everything is vain of vanity. The whole world is garnished. Is nothing. Ein od milvado. There's nothing else besides him, besides Hashem. It's very Friedrich. You remember who Michal Dvorkin? You heard that name? Michal Dvorkin, one of the great Hasidim of the previous generation. So when the previous Rebbe was released from prison, so he was so ecstatic. He was in a state of ecstasy that he sang this song over and over again in the street, to the state that the Goyish kids did kulen sich. They didn't understand what he said, but they got it. They got it that everything, it's all vanity. Ein od milvadon. There's nothing else except him. So now the question that I'm asking is this idea appropriate for girls? Is this what you teach? Is this what you teach girls? So I asked some women, and they said, well, it's the same thing. Boys and girls, same thing. No different. Can this become the hymnon? What's called the hymn? The
Theme.
what?
Theme song?
The theme song of the school. Can this become the theme song of this girls' school of our girls' school? Everything is garnished. Ain't no milk. Do you think it's an appropriate song for to be the theme song of the school?
I think so. After they're married, they'll be able to
Right?
be able to apply this to their husband.
I like it.
You like?
I get
I think just the danger is that tznius isn't supposed to be schleppy.
Right.
And that machas and shiftless, you have to have both. So
Right.
there has to be a dignity, not you're not.
Okay.
So
All right.
you
So
get both of
what
those
we just said
together, good.
now explains this: that a male, his pnimius is bitul, which is this song. But a female, her pnimius is simcha, and the thought, it's abstraction, much more. To understand the difference between abstraction and bitul. But you don't, the total bitul is garnished. So the man has to know, and it's what you don't agree with this. The question is female education that you're garnished, that everything is garnished, that it's all garnished. It's all nothing, just as just.
I'm going to go in that direction.
Well, it's only truth, he says.
Do you know why I thought about it?
Huh?
There is something in being something if it's in the Yirat Hashem.
Okay, so that's also food, man for thought. Manna for thought. Man for thought.
I think that's the inner, but there has to be an outer too.
No, the question, as we said, that the inner for the woman is the abstraction, but it's not necessarily the garnished. That's what we're now trying to say, the difference between a man and a woman. So she really has two different things. She has her Leah level and her Rachel level. He just has one because he's odd. This goes back to what we said before, that a man is odd and a woman is even. So she's even with these two different dimensions to her personality, but he's odd, and he's just one, but his so to speak duality is that he is garnished. Okay.
The Dworkin also said that what's the mila of dying but death? Everything has a mila except for death. That you look at it, that you're a burden and there's no mila to that. Make a problem for it. So he said the mila of dying is you stop lying.
So we can. The Rabbi said that we can do that in our lifetime also.
Huh?
The Rabbi said we can do that in our lifetime also.
Let's choose that.
Okay, so Mitzvah Hashem, everybody should be matzliach, should have great success in everything that you do, and good health, and all of your good wishes should become real.